Hey, how's it going? It is time for some yoga in my front room. Like always, we use this sofa as a prop to make things work nice. Let's get some better framing. There we go. Um, this is it. I teach you how to do smart mobility that pays attention to what you are working with in your own body. So it's not a game of copy the teacher. And too much yoga is like that, in my opinion, that you kind of leave people out and you only attract people who are as capable as you as a teacher if you just get people to do what you do. I want to show you how to assess your own body and work out what you're working with to make it work really nice. Okay, let's get into it then. So if sat up tall with just your perch right on the very edge of your sofa and getting some nice breathing with your rib cage and nasal breathing, so only breathing through your nose. So mouth lightly closed. So expand the rib cage and draw it back in again. And see if you can track how this stuff here moves. Work out what your shoulders do as you breathe. Do they join in or are they just hanging out in the background? That's it. So keep this going. I'm just going to set my little workout. And then start doing a little side bend to side bend so you can feel the side of your ribs scrunch up on one side and then scrunch up on the other. And I want you to always, in my classes, to breathe separately from movement. So it might be tempting and it can be nice to breathe in time to movement, but outside in the real world, you don't breathe like that. It's fine to just tilt into this and tilt into it. That's it. And then let's see if we can get into upright cat-cow. So still keeping your hands here, but think about if you were on all fours and you had your hands out like this, it's kind of the same with your hands here. So you can just relax your arms. I want you to round your back first. So if we go from the top this time, normally start from the bottom. So if you tuck your chin and then kind of slouch your upper back to middle back to lower back and then start from the lower back. So you come into extension. It's like I've lifted my coccyx away from the sofa and then middle back sits up, upper back sits up. Neck picks up and then look up and see how much can you segment down the chain, one vertebra at a time. Big global cat-cow can be kind of nice as well, but I'd much rather see you get into the specifics of how to move one vertebra at a time. And especially if you find a bit that doesn't work as well, like the middle to my upper back, like this bit here, if I just reverse in and out of that bit, I can maybe get into how do I control that a bit more, especially with my neck in this position actually. And then I want to try and see if I can do that little bit of middle back stuff with my neck in this position as well. And you can copy me or you can work out your own things. It could be that your lower back doesn't like moving separately from your upper back, and it might take time to assess yourself enough to get into these specifics of how your body can work really specifically and separately so that you can tune into individual joints and make them work nice. So I'm going to give you a big look at the lower back and lumbar spine and how that affects the hips, knees, ankles, and maybe even into shoulders as well. So as you stand up, let's see if you can do that same pelvic tilt standing. So if you move sideways on, if I come a bit close to the camera, look, and you can see this is my normal posture of my lower back. I've pulled my t-shirt tight so you can see it. That's how my lower back just sits normally, but I can control this to be flexion to more extension, flexion to more extension. It's just pelvic tilt. You see how this is just my pelvis moving separately and my upper back is staying pretty still, and I'm in pretty good control of that. That affects everything down the chain. So if you go split feet like this, 1 foot forwards, 1 foot back, come back a bit like this. So I want you to get as low as you can from your ankle, so feet flat, get low, and then lift up the back heel. So we're stretching out the sole of the foot, probably pressing through the big toe, and then sink back down, and then lift the heel and sink back down. Just assess this first, just this alone, see how that feels, getting into all of that big high heel all the way down, high heel and then big back down. And your lower back will be in whatever shape it wants to be in here, look. And then, can you change it a little bit? Can you arch your lower back a little bit and still make this same shape through the big toe? And then can you flatten the lower back? And it's almost like you're slouching over like this, but it's not a bad shape. Slouching tends to have bad connotations, but this is all good. That's it. Amazing. And then pick yourself back into extension. Do a little bit more. That's it. And then swap. So see how the foot and the ankle performs first. So we're getting into as deep dorsiflexion as you can manage. So your knee goes over the toes on the back foot. Can you lift and drop back down, lift and drop back down, just through this back ankle. That's it. Cool. And then can you arch your lower back like this? So kind of made a bit of duck bum kind of shape. That's it. And then tuck tailbone under, so it's a bit more like a slouch. Can you find this through lower back? Amazing. Right, and then into balance work now. So stay facing this way. So if you just put your foot up onto your sofa, in fact let's use the actual seat of the sofa and go toes pointing up like this. So you're in close to hamstring stretch possibly for you, unless you're really bendy. But if you can arch your lower back, maybe you can pull that hamstring stretch on at this angle. So it's like I've pulled the attachment of the hamstring away from the knee and mechanically made this stretch just from my spine posture, and then I can take that stretch away by tucking tailbone under. So it can flex and extend, flex and extend. I really like this standing version of this. So as you find it, find the stretch and then tilt forward so you can pull this stretch on a bit deeper. I want you to just live in this stretch for a bit. To help you with balance, I've got my foot up against the side of the sofa, and that kind of works for me. I'm trying not to put too much emphasis on a locked knee, so this knee's kind of soft here, look. You can see it could be bent, could be straight, somewhere in between. I'm just getting into feeling like learning, and it's only the tilt from my lower back just squeezing forwards, and apart from that I'm being pretty passive. I'm trying not to get to this rounded shape that we do when we go to reach for toes. I think it's too long been everyone's go-to as an assessment of how flexible you are. Is like, oh well, I can't even touch my toes, and then someone locks their knees and rounds their upper back to touch their here. We want to really just get this really separate from the lower back. So lower back's in the same posture you're in when you stand up. So this has kind of been long enough now. I want to put some work in at making this hamstring perform in its end range. So drive your heel down as hard as you can. So build up that strength and really feel like this hamstring is performing in its end range, and push harder and harder. Keep driving down, getting stronger and stronger, and breathing nicely. See if you can get any deeper. Can you get, how close to your actual end range can you get in this standing position? And then I want you to perform from this. So can you push your torso back up from the hamstring and then hinge back into it, and then push yourself back up and hinge back in, and push yourself back up and hinge back in. Good. last one. Amazing. And then squeeze the bum cheek on this standing leg and see if you can lift from the hip flexor. So I'm not after big air time like this, I'm after keeping posture and just making the hip flexor perform and then fading it out. Keep posture, make the hip flexor perform and then fade it out. Just do a couple more like this. See if you can get any more height out of it. Oh, that's difficult now. Let's go a couple more. Nice. Let's go one more. Oh, there we go. Alright, and then coming over and trying the other side. So stand right up into the sofa like this, so your inside of your leg is pressed on the front of the sofa, and then let this leg go a little bit straighter. Remember, not after a fully locked knee, and just see if you can do the pelvic tilt again that we've been practicing, that your lower back can perform separately from everything else, from flexion to extension, from flexion to extension. I said them the wrong way around, but you know what I mean. Okay. And then once you find extension, which is arched lower back like this, start tilting forwards just a bit. If I'm really honest about this, this is kind of it on this leg for me. Doesn't seem very flexible for a yoga teacher, does it? I'm not folded in half at all, but I can get my nose to my knee if I want, but it's an expression of the mobility of this section of my body and not really this. Not really my hamstring. Although it's part of it, it's done here, and then I can get further as I bend my spine. This is just an example. I'm not after you copying this, look, but maybe not nose to knee, but I can get palm to floor and curl over here quite happily, but I'm after teaching you that your hamstring can perform in this upright position absolutely fine. That's it. So holding this for long enough to make a dent, and then start driving down the heel. Push hard, really build it up, really get strong, keep getting stronger and stronger. How much pressure can you make with this? And really dig in, really make it perform in end range. See if you can get any more stretch out of this as well. And then leave yourself around a bit. So push yourself up, hinge back into it. Push yourself up and hinge back in. Nice. And then hold yourself up and see if we can make the hip flexor perform. And really this is hip flexor versus the strength of this hip stuff. Can you lift, lift, lift? Maybe do a big effort at holding. Amazing. Alright, I'm still on hamstrings for a little bit. Yeah, so I want you to bring yourself in seated. Bring your feet flat and knees wide, like this. So I'll just move to the middle of the rug, because that makes sense to me, so I can feel it under my feet. So with knees out, how low can you get this very bottom section of your body so it's similar again from what we've just done, that it's only the pelvic tilt that I'm after that gets you further into this, like your lower back can get lower and then pick yourself back up. Now the difference here is your knees are quite bent. Your feet should be further forwards than your knees so that you have a little bit of a stretch starting on the hip flexors. And just see if you can get your elbows on the inside of your knees. How low can you get your lower back from here, and can you get back up out of that position? So think about this like a seated good morning. A good morning is an exercise where you generally have a bar on your back and you bow like this and pick yourself back up. And this is a nicer way, I think, of getting into this. Just getting the belly to get us through your legs as far as you can, and then use the hamstrings to pick yourself back up. The belly through your legs, and then use hamstrings to pick yourself back up. If you want to have a little test of doing it a little bit where it's kind of wrong, it's not wrong, but I'm not after you dropping your head and picking your head up. Because if you do that, if you feel what that feels like, you'll just feel your spinal erectors work, so the muscles down the middle of your back, either side of your spine, will just pick you up and drop you back down. It's not that. I want to look for this closing angle of belly between the thighs, as deep as you can manage. Maybe even drop your hands down. Let's hold this stretch for a little bit now, after we've explored how to get in and out of it. And can you tease yourself lower? Breathe nicely here. And then pick yourself back up. And then come back to doing that little pelvic tilt again that we started with. So you arch your lower back and round lower back, arch lower back and round lower back. Because everything we're doing is looking at that space. So from the coccyx and up 5 vertebrae. That's where I want all of the action to come from, and see how that feels as you arch and round, arch and round. Very nice. All right. Then let's get into the opposite of this flexion of the hip and get into extension of the hip, so leg getting behind us. So if you stand up, I'm going to use the sofa again. If the sofa doesn't quite work, you might have an armchair that works for you, or you can use your cushions to help you get into this. So I want you to get your foot up onto the arm of your chair. If the arm of your chair is like extra high or has a wood bit that makes this not very comfortable, then you can just stack cushions, come on, under your feet like this. You might need, come on, nearly fell over then. You might need more than 2, because that's not quite enough for me. I can sink into this and it's not very much of a stretch. I'm going to use the back of the arm of the chair. Let's bring this foot up and kneel down onto the sofa and try and pull your bum forwards as much as you can. So you feel the stretch down the front of your thigh. Keep hanging out. Nice. Okay, so when you're in this, I'm after a stretch down the thigh, and if this is too much, and it very much could be, because it is for a lot of people, just put this cushion under your knee so that you can make the angle not quite as hard as having your heel really close to your bum, and just keep trying to push your hip forwards. Moving your hips side to side changes things a little bit as well. And just keep slowing your breathing down, breathing nicely, seeing how this feels. That's it. Okay. Once we've got this, I want you to just settle into it. Just see if you can make the hip flexor do a little stretch from here, and then load it up. So pushing your foot hard into the arm of the chair. Squeeze it on. Keep pushing and load this up more. Keep pushing, load it up more. That's it. And then fade out. And this is the hard bit now. I'm going to give you the easier option actually. If you bring your hands down like this, try and keep your knee way far behind you, and then own your hamstring action here so that you are as strong as you are flexible. Squeezing the heel towards your bum. And see if you can make the bum muscle and the hamstring really understand its closing angle opposite from the stretch. So it's from its contracted angle. Fantastic. And then sit yourself back up into the stretch again and just do pelvic tilt so you can feel how flattening your back deepens the stretch down the thigh. Tucking tailbone under makes this just a bit harder. Very good. Alright, pick yourself up and bring yourself over to the other side. It feels nice and stretchy on that side now. So foot up on the arm of the chair, kneeling onto the sofa. So most sofas have a little bar across here, so that if you kneel at the front of it, it shouldn't sink super low. If you sink into them, like towards the back of the sofa, your knee might sink so low that this becomes like weird and impossible. So bring your kneeling knee as close like to the edge of the sofa as you can, and then get into this and play around a little bit with the angles, so tucking tailbone under, back into extension, See if you can find a bit of comfort in lengthening down this thigh. Maybe a bit of hip flexor as well, and stick with it. Breathe nicely. Keep holding. I'm after passive at this point, so for this bit, for this stretch, should be like pretty chill, pretty relaxed. That's it. Keep breathing. So I'm after you getting some learning and comfort in the end range. So you should be able to stay pretty nice, not too like elevated, not too stressed about it, so your body's not fighting back against you. It should be just all right, should be okay. And then build it up a little bit. So if you push your foot down into the arm of the chair, try and make some tension happen from this thigh muscle, build up some strength, keep holding. That's it. Okay, try to pull the hip forwards as well. Then bring your hands down and try and squeeze heel towards your bum. And on this, try and get your knee as far back behind you as you can as you squeeze heel to bum. Amazing. And then come back up into the stretch and just do a little pelvic tilt. Arching your back and rounding it, arching your back and rounding it. Very good. Okay. That's amazing. Alright. Let's look at moving our shoulders around a little bit now. So I want to do a big controlled articular rotation. So I want to sit up at one end of your sofa and press your elbow down into the arm of the chair, and then with your other arm bring it across like this and bring your arm up past your cheek, past your ear, and then reach back and down. Only go as far as the back of the sofa and then back up. And keep looking forwards and keep your chest facing forwards. So it's this arc here that I'm after. So behind your ear, up behind your ear, and then across your cheek and across your chest like this. And seeing if you can separate out your shoulder from your torso. So if your torso goes like this, you can tell that you're cheating. Let's see if you can get it without cheating. Is exhausting, really exhausting. So bring yourself across to the other side, put yourself in, so elbow on top of the arm of your chair, just push down a little bit and it helps you to make some stability happen through your torso. Bring this arm across your body, bring it up past your cheek, past your ear, and reaching back. Keep tracking how this moves. I did a rubbish one then, I don't know if you could tell, but I was lazy. This little bit of difficulty here. And none of this is painful for me, even if I am gurning a little bit. It's just because I'm trying really hard to keep to absolute end range. So let's go one more. Alright, and then bring yourself back into the middle of your sofa. I want to see this shoulder blade performing really separately from the rib cage. So wrap your arm around your ribs and hold your arm up and reach up and out of your body and then pull back in. So no elbow action with this, it's just your shoulder blade and your arm, your hand, is holding onto the ribs. And see if you can really get shoulder blade to reach up and out. Bring it back into your body. Up and out, bring it back into your body. Alright, and then swap, hold this arm up, reach up and out, bring it back down, up and out, bring it back down. Especially the down bit, how much can you pull the shoulder into the shoulder socket? Keep this going. Feels nice. Fantastic. And then just move your neck side to side as well, because that is all very much part of the neck stuff. And then we're into elbows and wrists now. So I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera so you can see this. So if you go palms up like this, if you turn your thumbs up, that's internally rotated elbows, more internally rotated elbows. I want you to get your little fingers higher than your thumbs, or as close as you can get, and then try and close your elbow and open your elbow and keep your little finger trying to turn higher than the thumb, all the way up, all the way down. And just see if you can get this moving. We're in all of the elbow external rotation. To make this more difficult, you could turn your arm, so if you go to 90 degrees, because this is the easiest way, turn out like this, and then close and open, closed and open. And you might feel the rotator cuff, so like the muscles around the back of your shoulder, doing rotator cuff stuff. As you squeeze out, squeeze in, squeeze out, squeeze in. That's it. And then come back to center and turn down the way. So palms facing down, can you turn thumb down lower than the little fingers? So you're trying to get this thumb down as much as you can. So if you can do it with your fists closed like this. So imagine like you were holding an iron bar, you'd be trying to bend it like this, but not letting your elbows flare out at all. So your elbows stay, you're trying to bend from the wrists, from the elbows. So you go down and back up. Now the elbow is in its completely internally rotated position, and then can you open it out? Closed and open. I'm going to look at wrists after this. Oh, this is hard. Fantastic. So our wrists are amazingly dexterous, that's the word I was looking for. So they can do a lot of stuff between the fingers, wrists, and it's all from performing way up here, nowhere close to the point of action. So that's why it's kind of difficult to deal with this and make it do more, but I've got some ways. So I'm going to do this very specific grip. So your middle finger comes into the middle of your palm, then you cross a ring finger over the top, a bit like doing Spider-Man hands, like that, and then bring everything converged down on the same point as much as you can. And if you can do that with both hands at the same time, that'd be great. So middle finger in, ring finger on top, and then everything tries to converge in on the same point, and then reach out with your elbows and curl in, curl out, curl in, and curl out like this. So it goes from flexion to extension, from flexion to extension. See if you can make everything stretch down this line here, and everything contracts down here, and then the opposite, everything flexes down here and everything contracts down here. And this grip just helps make it an absolute end range. So we're going to try it with open hands in a second, and then when you open your fingers and try and do the same, you feel how it's still difficult, but it's just a different task. That's it. Alright, and then this is going to be hard. So I want you to think about waving like this, except you're not allowed to move your arm. So can you look at your forearm and keep your elbow really still and just wave the wrist? So you might need to hold on to stop this. And you haven't got very much movement at all. That's it, and then try the other side. So coming back and waving. Amazing. feel it, try and perform. Fantastic. And then close and open the fingers. And it's this open fingers really spreading, especially this webbing of the thumb here. I want you to see if you can really stretch that out as much as you can. And really spread fingers as wide as you can. That's it. Amazing. There you go. And then bring your hands down onto your knees. Move around a little bit. Maybe move your neck. Do a little side bend like we started with. Bring palms together. Thumbs to forehead. Tuck the chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thanks so much for hanging out. Let me know what you're dealing with, what you need help with, and I'll be very happy to help you out. I'll see you all very soon. Bye everyone. Bye.